My wife called me by another man's name. Not during a fight. Not by accident. In bed. After 10 years of marriage. She looked right at me, smiled faintly, touched my arm, and said, "I'm okay, Ryan. My name is not Ryan." She froze. Just for a second, but long enough. I didn't say anything. She blinked, smiled too fast, and laughed like it was nothing. Then came the excuse. "Oh, sorry. I was thinking about a client. I met a Ryan today, weird coincidence." But I'd seen her face before the cover-up kicked in. She knew exactly what she said, and I knew exactly what it meant. We've been married for 10 years. No kids, not for lack of trying. 2 miscarriages. A lot of silence after that. I thought we were still strong. Not perfect, who is, but strong. We had routines, rituals, inside jokes, shared playlists. We ran a small business together. Moved from Seattle to Austin to start fresh. She worked with me part-time, helping with client comms, creative pitches, outreach. People always said we made the perfect team. They said we were goals. The next morning, everything was normal. Too normal. She asked if I wanted almond or oat milk in my coffee. Told me she was heading to Pilates, then stopping by a client's office downtown. Kissed me on the cheek like she hadn't detonated a grenade under our marriage 7 hours earlier. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I wanted to believe it meant nothing. That it was weird, yes, but explainable. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe Ryan was a client, a friend, a name from a dream. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Because once you notice a crack, you start to see them everywhere. Her phone started living face down. Not unusual, right? We all do that sometimes. But now it was always like that. And she used to answer text in front of me without a second thought. Now she'd tilt the screen away or walk into another room. Her laptop, which we both used occasionally for work, now had a password. I asked why. She said it was just best practice because we had sensitive client data. Even the way she spoke changed. More formal. Measured. Like she was reciting a script instead of talking to her husband. I mentioned Ryan once. Casually. Just dropped the name into conversation. "Hey, do we know a Ryan from that networking group you went to last year?" She paused. Blinked. Then said, "Oh, maybe. Ryan? Doesn't ring a bell." Liar. I didn't push it. But that was the moment I felt it for the first time. Deep down, she's hiding something. And she's good at it. Still, I tried to talk myself down. I even Googled things like, can stress cause someone to say the wrong name? What does it mean if wife says another man's name? Am I paranoid or just insecure? I told myself, if she were cheating, I'd know. Right? But part of me already did know. It just didn't want to face it yet. Until the folder. It was a regular Wednesday afternoon. She was out for what she said was a team lunch. I needed to grab a client invoice from our shared cloud drive, something we both used for years. Logged in, found the folder, downloaded the file. But right above it, a new folder. Titled, Drafts/Events. Looked harmless, just another work doc. I clicked. Inside was a PDF named Q2_retreat_outline. Looked like a travel itinerary. Hotel. Dinner notes. Flights. I skimmed it lazily, until I hit this line. Ryan prefers the Bordeaux at that rooftop place. He always says it reminds him of our first trip. Avoid oysters, he's allergic. I froze. Not because of the wine. Not because of the trip. But because I finally had a name. Ryan. The name she said in bed. The name she pretended to forget. The name she built a second life around, inside a document she thought I'd never open. I stared at that line in the document like it was written in fire. Ryan prefers the Bordeaux. I don't drink red wine. Never have. And we've never been to a rooftop restaurant together. Not one. He always says it reminds him of our first trip. What first trip? Not mine. I was still sitting there when she came home. Smiling. Carrying a smoothie. Like nothing was burning. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "How was your day?" I said, "Quiet." She said, "Same." I told myself I had no proof. Not really. It could have been anything. A work event. An old plan. A name she used as filler. There were always explanations if I wanted them badly enough. And I did. I really, really did. That night I barely slept. She was lying next to me, scrolling through her phone. I closed my eyes, pretended to drift off. I could hear the faint tap-tap-tap of her texting. Then silence. Then her phone buzzed once, and she turned it over. Face down. Like always. The next morning she was already up before me. Dressed. Hair done. Smelled like perfume I hadn't smelled in months. I asked her where she was going, and she said she had a last-minute meeting with a client near the domain. You know how Jeff is, she added. Always changing plans. Jeff is one of our clients, but we haven't had a meeting with him in weeks. I said, want me to come with? She paused, just half a second too long. Then, no, babe, it's just casual. Plus you've got your hands full with the Carlson deck, right? I nodded, but I watched her drive away. And for the first time, I didn't feel like her husband. I felt like her cover. I sat there at the kitchen table, staring at my untouched coffee, and asked myself a question I never thought I'd have to ask. What if I'm not imagining this? What if I'm not paranoid? What if I'm finally waking up? That same afternoon, I tried something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret it. We use iCloud for work, shared contacts, notes, backups. Her phone and laptop were both connected. I logged into our joint account, looked for backups. Most were gone, deleted, but one remained. Recent. It had messages. I opened it. I shouldn't have, but I did. Most of it was clean. Family, friends, a few coworkers. Then a thread labeled R. No photo, just the letter. I opened it, and what I read made my skin go cold. Lunch was perfect. I missed your face. Next time, I'll book the suite with the tub. He has no idea. Still thinks I'm out with Chloe. You're the only place that feels like home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone. I just sat there, frozen, for probably half an hour. She was in our house, sleeping next to me, smiling like nothing was wrong. While sending that, she came home 2 hours later, holding shopping bags. Got us some wine for Friday, she said cheerfully. Want Thai tonight? I said I wasn't hungry. She gave me a look. Everything okay? I nodded, smiled, lied. Because if she could lie that easily, then so could I. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Not after reading those messages. Not after seeing her walk through the door like nothing was broken. I waited until Saturday morning. Come morning. Quiet house. No distractions. No excuses. She was drinking coffee, reading something on her phone. I sat down across from her and said it plainly. Who's Ryan? She didn't even flinch. She looked up, blinked, tilted her head a little. What? I said it again. Slower. Quieter. Heavier. Ryan. You called me that name in bed. You said it didn't mean anything, but then I found notes about him. And messages. So I'll ask one more time, who is he? She set her mug down gently, folded her hands in her lap, took a breath. Babe, are you serious? Yes. Are you actually accusing me of something right now? I didn't answer. Because if this is about that name thing, again, I told you, I met a Ryan that day. I was tired. You've been so stressed lately, I figured you were just overthinking. I said I wasn't overthinking. I said I'd seen messages. I said I wasn't making anything up. Her face changed, slowly. Not into guilt. Not even anger. Into disappointment. The kind that hits harder than rage. Wow, she whispered. You really don't trust me. I told her it's not about trust. It's about truth. She laughed. Actually laughed. That's rich. You snooped through my messages, and you want to talk about truth. I said I had to. Because something felt off. Because she wasn't acting like herself. Because for the first time in 10 years, I felt like I was being erased from my own life. She stood up, walked into the kitchen. I followed. So what now? She said, opening the fridge. You going to accuse me of sleeping with every male name in my contacts? I said, just tell me if there's something I should know. Silence. She turned around, leaned against the counter, and looked me straight in the eye. Okay. You want honesty? Fine. I felt lonely. For a while. You've been distant, buried in work. You don't even look at me the way you used to. You don't touch me. You don't see me. So yeah, I texted someone. It wasn't serious. It was a stupid connection I made in a low moment. But I didn't do anything with him. I didn't cross a line. She took a breath. Watch me. And if you can't forgive me for that, then maybe the problem isn't me. For a moment, I almost believed her. Because she was crying. Because she looked small. Fragile. Real. Because I wanted to. But somewhere deep inside me, something snapped into place. Not a nerve. Not anger. Clarity. If you're going to lie, at least lie well. Because I'd read the messages. I saw the hotel names. I saw the photo of the wine on the table she told me she drank with Chloe. I saw the second toothbrush in her bag. So no, it wasn't just a connection. It was a world she was building while burning down mine. I didn't tell her I knew all that. Not yet. I just nodded. Said I needed time to think. She kissed me on the cheek and said, I'm glad we talked. I went upstairs and sat on the floor of our closet. Alone. Not angry. Not broken. Just awake. After that conversation, I stopped asking questions. I started listening, watching, storing everything. She thought we were fine now. That her performance worked. That her speech about feeling unseen and needing emotional connection had reset the board. But something in me had shifted permanently. The part of me that trusted her, the part that believed her words at face value, was gone. I played along. I smiled when she made coffee. I nodded when she brought up work. I laughed at her jokes. But I wasn't really there. I was in another room mentally, watching her through glass. She told me she was going out for drinks with her friend Sam. Sam is a woman. They've known each other since college. I've met her dozens of times. She's sweet, talkative, overshares everything. So that night, I texted Sam around 8:40. Hey, hope you two are having fun. Tell her to grab me something sweet if you stop by the bakery, grinning face with smiling eyes. Sam replied 5 minutes later. Fun? LOL, I'm at my parents' in Houston this weekend. What bakery? I stared at the screen. Not surprised. Just numb. I didn't respond. Neither did she. I'm sure she was thinking. Weird text. I was thinking. She didn't even bother to build a good lie. My wife came home around 11:15. Hair slightly curled. Makeup reapplied. She smelled like a perfume I didn't recognize, lighter, fruitier. Not her usual. She smiled and kissed me on the head. You still up? I said, just got tired. She told me they went somewhere loud and left early. I nodded. Did Sam say hi? She froze for maybe half a beat, then said, oh, yeah, of course. She always does. I just smiled. The next day, I backed up her phone from the shared cloud. I found the thread again. A few new messages. Missed your face. Friday was too short. Let's plan something longer soon. That Airbnb you sent looks perfect. He's completely checked out. You were right. It's easy now. That one hit me harder than the rest. He's completely checked out. She meant me. And I realized something chilling in that moment. She wasn't lying to cover her tracks. She was lying because she thought she'd already won. I didn't tell her I knew. Not yet. Instead, I told her I'd be traveling for a few days, client pitch in Dallas. There was no pitch. But I booked a hotel anyway, took my laptop, and started building a folder. A real one. Screenshots. Backups. Timestamped messages. Flight receipts. Photos I found she deleted but were still in cloud trash. Lists of dates she said she was with friends, but wasn't. Audio notes I didn't even know were synced. This time, I wasn't just preparing to confront her. I was preparing to burn down the lie. 3 days in a Dallas hotel with blackout curtains, a strong Wi-Fi connection, and a growing file titled Everything. That's what it took to finally start breathing again. I didn't eat much. Barely slept. But I wasn't falling apart. I was focused. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't drowning in doubt. I was pulling myself out of the water. I went back over everything. Reread messages, map dates, cross-checked lies. Every late work night, lined up with a ping from that same hotel chain in her Apple Wallet history. Every girls' dinner matched a message to Ryan about how he always knows exactly what to order. Every tear she cried when I asked if something was wrong now felt like theater. Not even good theater. I wasn't just collecting proof. I was rebuilding reality. There was one message that stuck with me. I had skimmed it before but hadn't really felt it until now. He's good to me, but it's like living with a ghost. I want fireworks. You give me that. That was the line that lit the match. Not the cheating, not the lies, but the idea that I had given everything time, stability, loyalty, and somehow she made me the absence. I didn't want revenge. Not really. I wanted clarity and distance. But the thing about liars? They don't stop until you end it. So I started writing an email. Not to her. To a lawyer. I kept it simple. Outlined the situation. Asked about process. Timeframes. Options. He replied the next morning. Do not confront her until we speak. Document everything. Keep it civil. We'll proceed strategically. I was tired of emotional landmines. This time, I wanted structure. I wanted control. When I came back home, she greeted me at the door like a woman who missed her husband. She was barefoot, holding a mug of tea, cozy sweater, soft music playing in the background. Candle burning. If I didn't know what I knew, I would have kissed her and melted into it. But I did know. So I smiled and said, it's good to be home. She wrapped her arms around me, pressed her face into my chest, and whispered, I hate when you're away. It feels wrong. It was the closest I'd ever come to laughing in her face. That night, she was warmer than usual. Closer. She kept brushing my hand, touching my neck, smiling at me like we were newlyweds. And all I could think was, she's sensing it. She knows I'm not where she left me. I wondered if Ryan noticed the same shift in her when she came home to me. 2 days later, I scheduled a meeting with my lawyer. Quietly. During lunch, when she was getting her nails done. We met at a small firm downtown. Polished. Direct. No nonsense. I handed over the folder. Labeled, organized, time-stamped. She flipped through it, raised her eyebrows at the volume, nodded slowly. "This is extremely thorough," she said. "You'll be in a strong position." I left the office feeling a calm I hadn't known in months. Not because I was winning, because I was no longer reacting. I was choosing. At home, she was already on the phone when I walked in. She hung up fast, smiled too wide, asked how my day was. "Just meetings," I said. "You know how it is." We ate dinner. She told me about a new restaurant she wanted to try. I agreed. Said I'd make a reservation. She looked so relieved I almost pitied her. But inside, I'd already packed half my life. I moved money, opened a new account, rerouted my pay, set up a private P.O. box, changed my passwords. All of it quiet, clean, legal. The house we lived in? Mine. I bought it before we were married. She just stopped noticing that part. I wasn't planning to leave with anger. I was planning to leave with everything she thought was hers. She started asking questions. Small ones at first. Casual. Practiced. "You've been working a lot lately. Everything okay with the Carlson project? You seem quiet these days. Tired or just thinking? Did you change the password on our Netflix?" I couldn't log in. Each one wrapped in silk. Sweet tone. Half a smile. But I saw it. Those flickers of uncertainty behind her eyes. The shift. The part of her brain that had always assumed I'd stay where she left me now, trying to calculate whether I'd started to move. I kept my answers light. Vague. Calm. Because now she was the one guessing. And I was done playing catch-up. One night, I came home a little later than usual. Not late enough to raise alarms. Just off routine enough to make her wonder. She greeted me at the door like always. But her eyes scanned my face just a little too long. "Where'd you head after work?" "Just stopped by the gym. Needed to clear my head." That was true, but not the whole truth. Because before that, I'd met with my lawyer again. Signed papers. Prepared a timeline. Put the final version of the exit plan in motion. She asked if I wanted dinner. I said I wasn't hungry. She opened a bottle of wine anyway. Poured 2 glasses. She only drank half of hers. We sat in the living room. A movie playing, neither of us really watching. She reached for my hand halfway through. I let her take it. Not because I believed in it. Because I wanted her to feel just safe enough not to see what was coming. The next morning, she was in the kitchen early. Already dressed. Phone in one hand, stirring oatmeal with the other. She looked up and said, "Hey, do you mind if I borrow the car today? Mine's acting weird again." I said sure. Tossed her the keys. It was bait. A small one. That car still had GPS sync through our family account. I hadn't touched it in over a year. But last week, I'd re-enabled location logs. I didn't check it every day. Didn't need to. But that day I did. She told me she was meeting Sam for brunch. The GPS said, Hotel Avalon. Roomside valet. I didn't feel shock. Or pain. Just confirmation. That night, she walked in with a to-go bag, hair slightly undone. "We stayed longer than I thought," she said. Sam had a lot to get off her chest. I looked up from the couch. "Everything good with her mom?" She blinked. "Her mom? Yeah. Didn't you say her mom was in the hospital last week?" Pause. "Oh, right. Yeah. She's doing better now." She was unraveling. Little threads pulling free. And for once, I wasn't the one trying to tie them back together. 2 days later, I found the ring. Tucked in her coat pocket. A small, simple box. Definitely not the one I gave her years ago. I didn't open it. Didn't need to. There was a note beside it. "Soon. Just say the word." That was when I knew. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was planning a life without me. While sleeping in my house. Driving my car. Living off everything I built. I put the ring back exactly where I found it. Walked out of the room. And called my lawyer. It's time. It started like any other day. That was the scariest part. She was in the kitchen, brewing her favorite coffee blend. The one she used to say reminded her of the little shop we visited in Portland on our 2nd anniversary. She wore the same soft gray hoodie she'd had since grad school. The one with the sleeves always pushed halfway up her arms. She smiled at me over her mug like nothing was wrong. I nodded, said good morning, and sat across from her at the kitchen table. She scrolled through her phone like she always did, thumb flicking mindlessly. She looked peaceful, settled, like someone who had successfully rewritten her own story. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just thinking." She leaned over and touched my hand. "Don't overthink. That's your superpower and your curse." I smiled. But inside, I was steel. I told her I had a meeting around noon and might be late getting back. She nodded, kissed me lightly on the cheek, and said, "Kill it." She went upstairs to get dressed. I listened to her footsteps. Light, familiar, trusting. The steps of someone who still believed they were one step ahead. She wasn't. By the time she came back down, I was gone. Left a note on the table that said, "Don't wait up." But I wasn't at a meeting. I was downtown, in an office with a polished wooden table and two attorneys beside me. Divorce papers, asset protection, property filings, security consultations. It was all ready. She thought she had time. I let her think that. I needed her to. Because what I was doing now didn't just require facts, it required precision. Timing. Silence. The confrontation wouldn't be in a screaming match. It wouldn't be in a hotel lobby or a parking lot or through text messages. It would be here. At home. In the house we shared. At a table where we'd planned vacations and birthdays and one day, a family. I waited until evening. She came in around 6:40. Arms full of groceries. She smiled when she saw me sitting there. "Hey, I thought you said you'd be late." I nodded. Plans changed. She unloaded bags. Told me about traffic. How the line at Whole Foods was a disaster. Asked if I could help her dice onions for the curry she planned to make. I said nothing. Just stood and walked to the counter. Took out the ring box from her coat pocket and placed it gently on the table. She froze. Her voice, when it came, was small. "Where did you find that?" "Where you left it." "With the note." Silence. Then she tried the shift. The tilt. The change of tone. "Look, I can explain." "You don't have to." She blinked. "Wait." I laid the folder on the table. It hit the wood with the soft, heavy sound of finality. Inside, emails, texts, screenshots, receipts, timelines. "This is what I've been doing the last 2 weeks. While you were planning your new life." She didn't reach for it. Her hands were trembling. "You said you felt unseen, unheard, unwanted. So you let someone else into your life, into your body, into your plans." She opened her mouth. I raised a hand. "Don't." "Not yet." I took a breath. Felt every word before I said it. For 10 years, I believed in us. I thought we were building something solid, something real. I thought love was a partnership, not a performance. But you turned it into a negotiation I didn't know I was part of. She was crying now. Not loud. Not messy. Quiet tears, the kind you cry when your world goes still. I looked at her and felt nothing. No hate. No rage. Just release. "The house is mine. You know that. Bought it before we married. My lawyers already handled the paperwork." She looked up then. "You're kicking me out?" "No. I'm leaving. For tonight. But in the morning, I expect you to be gone. You'll have time. My attorney will contact you." Her lips parted, but she said nothing. I walked upstairs, packed a single bag. Just the essentials. Left my ring in the drawer. As I passed her in the hallway, she reached out. Touched my arm. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. I stopped. Looked her in the eyes. "You didn't just hurt me. You dismantled me. Piece by piece. But I put myself back together. And this version of me? He doesn't need your explanations." I walked out the door. The night air hit me like a baptism. Freezing. Real. Awake. Part of me thought she might follow. But she didn't. And for the first time in a long, long time, that felt right. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry or hurt or second-guessing. I didn't sleep because for the first time in months, I wasn't numb. I was alert. Present. My body finally stopped tensing against an invisible blow. The silence in that hotel room wasn't cold. It was clean. It was mine. At 7:13 a.m., I got a text from her. Just one word. "Please." I didn't answer. At 8:32, another. "Can we talk?" Just talk. No drama. Still nothing from me. Not because I didn't have things to say. I had too many. But not one of them could be sent in a text message. Not one of them deserved to be delivered through a screen. I turned my phone off and opened a notebook. I made a list of everything I was leaving behind and everything I was taking with me. By the time I turned my phone back on, I had 12 missed calls and 4 voicemails. I listened to none of them. I drove back to the house around noon. Her car was gone. A quiet, strange relief washed over me when I pulled into the driveway. Maybe she listened. Maybe she packed. Maybe she realized there were no more tricks left. I walked in. The house was quiet, but not empty. She was still there, sitting on the bottom step of the staircase, suitcase at her feet, red-eyed, like she hadn't slept either. I didn't know where else to go, she said. I didn't respond. Just stood there. I know you hate me, she added. I don't hate you, I said. That would mean I still feel something. She nodded slowly. I didn't think it would all collapse this fast. I almost laughed. Almost. Collapse? She hadn't noticed it had already collapsed months ago. She'd just been standing on the wreckage, pretending it was a view. I thought I had more time, she whispered. There it was. Not guilt. Not apology. Just regret for poor planning. You didn't want time, I said. You wanted insurance. You wanted to have a backup until you were sure you could walk away first. She didn't deny it. I walked past her, upstairs to the bedroom. She hadn't packed much. Maybe she thought I'd change my mind. I took out a second envelope from my duffel and brought it down. These are the next steps. Everything's been handled. You'll get your share. You'll be comfortable. I never cared about the money. Then why were you stealing moments instead of facing the truth? That finally cracked something in her. Her jaw trembled. Because I thought you'd never leave. And I didn't know how to leave first. I nodded. That was probably the closest thing to honesty I'd get. She stood, holding the suitcase now, waiting for a gesture that didn't come. Where will you go? I asked. I don't know. That's not my problem anymore. She paused. One step from the door. Was there ever a chance we could have fixed it? I looked her in the eye. There was. You burned it. She walked out. The door clicked shut like the final note of a sad song that never needed to be written. And just like that, I was alone. But I wasn't lonely. There's a difference. In the hours that followed, I walked through every room of the house like I was meeting it for the first time. Each wall felt taller. Each corner quieter. No lies in the air. No hidden messages in the tone of her voice. Just space. Clean. Honest. Mine. Later that night, I got a message from her. Not begging. Not cruel. Just this. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I read it. Deleted it. Didn't reply. It took exactly 4 days for her to try again. Not a text this time. Not a call. She showed up at my office. Unannounced. I was in a meeting with one of my newer clients, a small startup run by a pair of 20-something founders who were all fire and caffeine and hope. We were reviewing a pitch deck when my assistant buzzed in. There's someone here asking for you. She says it's personal. I didn't ask who. I already knew. I stepped into the hallway and saw her sitting on the waiting bench, legs crossed, hair tied up, trying to look composed. It didn't work. Her eyes gave her away. Puffy, red, searching. She stood when she saw me. 5 minutes, she said. Please. I should have said no. Should have turned around. But something in me wanted to hear it, not out of hope, not from pain, but from a need to witness the final chapter of a story that should have ended years ago. I gestured to the side hallway. We stepped into a small conference room and shut the door. She looked around like she was seeing my world for the first time. It's nice here. Clean. What do you want? She hesitated, then sat. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Properly. Not through a message or half said in the hallway of her home. I know I don't deserve your time, but I needed to say it. I didn't sit. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I was selfish, she continued. I was scared. And I thought I could control everything, manage both lives, balance 2 worlds like some kind of emotional accountant. And in doing that, I devalued the one person who ever made me feel like I could stop performing. That hit me sideways. Because it was true. I had made her feel safe once. Real. But she'd weaponized it. And I hate what I did to you, she said. I hate how I made you question everything. Yourself. Your value. Your instincts. She looked up. I never stopped loving you. Even when I was with him. That's the part that makes me sick. I let the silence stretch long enough for her to feel it. Do you think any of that makes it better? I asked. No. Because it doesn't. She nodded. I know. I walked to the window, looked out at the city. People rushing. Living. Surviving. You know, I said quietly, I didn't want to become this version of myself. I liked the man who trusted. The one who saw the best in people. I turned to her. You killed that version. She flinched. But she stayed seated. He didn't deserve to die. No. But he was defenseless. And I can't afford to be that naive again. She stood slowly. I just wanted to say it out loud. I know there's no fixing it. But I wanted you to know that I see it. All of it. Now. I nodded. Just once. Then we're done here. She hesitated at the door. Would it be okay if I reached out sometime? Just to check in. No. She blinked. I think she expected softness, some thread of comfort to cling to. But I had nothing left to give. Goodbye, I said. She opened the door, paused, then walked out of my life for the second time. But this time, I was the one who closed the door. I didn't go back to the meeting. I told my team to handle it. I took a walk. Let the cold air hit me like a warning and a reminder. You survived. You chose truth. You let go. That night, I sat in the house alone. It didn't echo anymore. It didn't haunt. It just existed. Quiet, clean, uncharged. I made dinner, read, slept. The next morning, I drove out of town for a weekend alone. No plans. No people. Just a cabin I used to visit when I needed to reset. I sat by the lake with a cup of coffee and let myself feel the silence. Not fear. Not tension. Just space. Space she no longer occupied. Space I didn't need to share. Closure isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or a slam of the door. Sometimes it walks in quietly, says what it came to say, and leaves with dignity. And all you're left with is yourself. And finally, that's enough. It's been 7 months. That's enough time for her to lose what she thought she had. And enough time for me to find something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the kind that comes from forgiveness. The kind that comes from finally letting go of the weight you never should have been carrying. Her last message came 2 weeks ago. An email. Subject line, "Can we talk?" I didn't open it right away. I saw it. Let it sit. Like a test I already knew the answers to. But 3 days later, I clicked. Maybe out of curiosity. Maybe because part of me wanted to see what angle she'd try this time. It wasn't dramatic. No pleading. Just a quiet kind of desperation. She said things hadn't worked out with him. That she felt alone. That she realized she'd lost more than just a relationship. She'd lost the one person who ever saw her fully and stayed anyway. She said she wasn't trying to get me back. She just wanted to talk. I thought about deleting it. But instead, I wrote back. One coffee. One conversation. Nothing more. She agreed. We met at a small spot outside the city. One we used to go to back when life felt simple. She was already there when I arrived, sipping tea, looking out the window like she was hoping to see someone other than me. She looked older. Not bad. Just tired. Less polished. The confidence she used to wear like perfume was cracked. When she saw me, she stood. Smiled. Not the kind that reaches your eyes. The kind you use when you're not sure if you're welcome. We sat. She started with small talk. Weather. Work. I let her speak. I didn't fill the silence for her. Eventually, she exhaled and said, "I guess I owe you more than I could ever say." I stayed quiet. You were right. About everything. About him. About me. Still quiet. He left. Said I wasn't who he thought I was. Funny, right? I looked at her. Not really. She nodded slowly. I just wanted to say sorry. And to tell you that I think about it every day. About how I broke something good just because I didn't know how to sit still in something real. I watched her. Thought about how many nights I spent begging for honesty. And how easily it came now that there was nothing left to lose. I don't hate you, I said. Her eyes filled, but she didn't let the tears fall. Thank you. But I don't miss you either. That landed like a stone. You lost a man who would have given you everything, I said. And I lost someone who took it for granted. That's not a tragedy. That's balance. She blinked. Swallowed hard. Do you think we could ever be? No, I said. Not cold. Just certain. She nodded again. This time slower. Like she was finally hearing me. The coffee got cold. We stood. She offered a hug. I shook her hand. And walked out first. That night, I went home. I opened the drawer where I kept the folder. The one with all the evidence. All the pieces of the life she thought she could live behind my back. I took it out. Sat with it. Read a few lines. Not to feel pain. Just to remind myself how far I'd come. Then I walked to the backyard. Grabbed the fire pit lighter. And burned it. Watched the pages curl, the messages blacken, the last fragments of her control dissolve into smoke. I stood there until the flames died out. And I smiled. Not because I was happy. Because I was free. She told me once that I was too quiet. That I never fought back hard enough. Funny how the quiet one ended up being the one who walked away and never looked back. That wasn't weakness. That was knowing the difference between what you fight for and what you finally put down and walk away from, even if you once loved it more than anything. The next morning, I got in my truck. Drove north. Past the gas stations, past the silence, into open fields and empty sky. I pulled off at a trail I hadn't walked since before all this began. No headphones. No calls. Just me. Halfway up the trail, I stopped. Closed my eyes. Breathed. She was a chapter. I'm the author. And I'm still writing. Not for her. Not for anyone. Just for the man who finally stopped handing out second chances to people who only came back when they had nothing left.